Today we're going to talk about penis size, specifically your penis size and whether you could compete with your heroes from the meatpacking industry. Science tells us exactly what to expect. Are you the normal one or are you an outlier? It's a topic surrounded by misinformation, social pressure, and psychological significance, especially for men. In this video, I'll walk you through the best available data, population averages, clinical measurement techniques, and what those numbers really mean, not just biologically, but culturally and emotionally. I'm Dr. Stefan Buntrock, board-certified urologist and specialist in sexual health. Before we dive into the data, let's see who you're really up against. Get ready. We're talking double digits here. 10 to 12 inches. And if you read the comments on my most popular video, you'll see that the average UroChannel viewer proudly claims to be 12 inches, at least. And before someone writes, quit that imperial nonsense, 12 inches is 30.5 centimeters. But even 10 inches is extraordinary. That alone would qualify you for the porn business, which tells you just how rare it really is. Now, just to be clear, no scientist took these guys to a lab and put a ruler on them. These are self-reported numbers. If you can even call it self-reporting in a business where watching and comparing is the currency. Official verification, almost always missing. John Holmes is often cited as the biggest of them all. Even he wasn't exactly sure whether he packed 10 or 16 inches. But even if that was a myth, here's the takeaway. It never stretches beyond 12 inches, and that's your benchmark. Now, before we move on from self-reported to scientifically measured, put your ruler aside for a second and hit subscribe to UroChannel. If you're enjoying this video so far, give it a like. It's digital applause for the artist, totally free, but incredibly helpful. Thanks a lot. Now, let's move to what's really going on down south. We can't rely on self-reports here. I just told you about my comment section. That's self-reporting at its finest, exaggerated and proudly inaccurate. Accurate measurements require standardized procedures conducted by trained third-party professionals, ideally in a controlled clinical setting. That doesn't mean it's perfect. There's still no universal agreement on how to measure, erect, stretched, bone pressed or not. Even with the greatest care, results can vary. But one thing is clear, it's still science and it's far superior to self-reporting. So what does the data say? A highly cited meta-analysis looked at 15,521 men from around the world. Sorry to break it to you this way, it's not 6, not even close. We're talking 5.2 inches on average. That's 13.12 centimeters. The analysis included 20 studies from across the world. So this isn't some isolated sample, it's global. Asia was represented by Korea. 144 men out of 15,521 in total. And no, the Asian cohort didn't drag the average down. That myth dies here. But even 5.2 inches isn't quite the full story. In reality, average is a range, not a number. It comes down to a mathematical concept called normal distribution. It means that about 68% of all men fall into a central range, clustered closely around the average. In this paper, that range goes from 4.5 to 5.8 inches, or 11.46 to 14.78 centimeters. All these measurements were bone pressed. That's the scientific way. You measure along the top of the penis, push the ruler into the fat pad at the base until it hits the pubic bone, and then read the length at the tip. Before we move on to girth, let's put these numbers into perspective. How would porn stars compare to this group of over 15,000 men? The data reveals not a single one had a 10-inch penis. 10 inches wasn't even on the chart, let alone on the page. That kind of length is such an outlier, it's basically a unicorn with a ruler. And speaking of ruler, the penis is not just an organ. For many, it is a ruler. Its identity, its culture. No wonder average is so hard to accept. But look at it this way. Average is normal. And in the eyes of nature, normal is the best that can happen to you. Nature wants you to find compatible partners, as many as possible, as easily as possible. Keeps the genes healthy. A monster penis may be good for you, but average might be better for your partner. Most will be very satisfied with average. However, some will be more satisfied with girth. If length is king, girth is queen. In that large sample, average erect girth was 4.6 inches or 11.66 centimeters. Even here, there was a range, 4.2 to 5.0 inches, which translates to 10.56 to 12.76 centimeters. And as I said, length is king, which might be why I couldn't find any reliable data on porn star girth. If you're feeling insecure about your size, please remember, most of what we see online is not real, and most partners care far more about how you make them feel than about numbers. Your penis is just one part of you, and being average is not a weakness, it's a strength, because it means your body is functioning exactly the way it should. If you want to learn more about performance, confidence, and pleasure, watch this next video.